Conversations. I'm very happy that you're joining us this morning. Hopefully you got your coffee, or what I did is I don't know, maybe to be honest, probably my fifth cup of coffee, made sure it was still hot, so that we can have plenty of caffeine, so that we can have a fantastic show this morning and talk with another amazing book author. So before I bring her on stage, I'd like to tell you a little bit about her. And of course, I need my glasses. So let me find my glasses here. Her name is Marivel Reyes, and she comes to us from Texas. She's a mom of two boys, and I want to read a couple things about her bio. She said that she is a Texas gal with a deep love for Jesus and a special fondness for bluebirds. She is a children's author, and so this morning we get to talk about everything related to children's books, so I'm super excited for that. But what she says is that she worked in the public libraries in the early 2000s, so we'll talk about that a little bit, and that's some of the inspiration for how she came to write these books, and it's a collection. Wait until you hear about it, and we're going to talk about how it all kind of started with her beloved dog named Chachi. Love that name. And let me bring her up to the stage, and welcome to Now Conversations, Marivel.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us. What time is it there?
It's a pleasure to be in this podcast, and it is actually 8:30 here in the Lone Star State. I know you're in the Sunshine State, so I had to get up an hour earlier.
Thank you. Well, thanks for doing it. Thanks for doing it. And you could be from California, right? So at least it's not that time zone. Well, as I was mentioning right before we got on the stream here, I said this 30 minutes is going to go by fast, and it will. So I want to dig in because I'm very excited to have you on the show, and I want to talk about writing children's books and all that's involved with that special genre. And in our history, which is now 10 years in September, can't believe we've been doing this book publishing for so long. But in our history, I think that we have maybe worked with maybe 12 children's book authors out of like 200. So that kind of gives you an idea that we don't publish a lot of children's books. And in fact, the last children's books series and author we did was 2 years ago, and it was called My Father's Favorite, God Loves Me, with an author in North Carolina 2 years ago. So let's dig into children's books and what you've got, which is really incredible, and really none of our authors have the selection of books that you have, where you have not just a series of children's books. We'll start to put some on stage. So here's Once Upon a Cross. You have, is it all of your children's books, or some of them that are not just English, but also the Spanish version? Did you do them all in English and Spanish?
I did.
So that's fantastic and amazing, and definitely different. But you also have a number of them. And is that Chachi?
Actually, that's Peanut. Well, I'll talk about Peanut a little bit later. So I had to jump Chachi from the storytelling to give a little dedication to my Peanut, who I lost. He was 12 years old when he crossed over to the rainbow to Happy Dogland. So I'm going to do a little dedication to him. So Chachi, which I will talk about a little further, he's still in the works.
Oh, okay. I got it. All right. So I didn't even bring up the last offerings that you have, and you've done coloring books.
Yes.
So that is just, you have been busy, lady. So tell us how it even started, and how you were, because I would say put your head down and went to town on building all these book offerings.
Okay, great. So I'm going to start off with 2006. I was hired on as the children's specialist for a public library. It was a small branch. So technically, I was like a children's library because I didn't have a master's in library sciences. I was called the children's coordinator. So I conducted story times and events for preschool and elementary age children. So I would do my weekly story times. We had weekly story times, or we had like a Christmas event. Then I would read the Christmas books. So That kind of just sparked up a little fascination in me. Being surrounded by all those children's books and how creative those authors were, and just the variety out there, I thought to myself, oh, that would be wonderful. One day I think I could write a children's book. Needless to say, that was almost, 20 plus years ago. So life happens. I did meet my now husband, my current husband, and only husband at the library. He was bringing his son in for a story time, and we ended up getting married
Oh, you met
later.
at story time? You met at story time? I
Yes,
love that. Oh,
yes.
that's so cool.
So
Okay.
we met at story time. A year later, got married, and then my son Noah was born. So then, jumbling motherhood, marriage, some job changes. My idea of writing the book just kind of stayed in the back burner. And it stayed there for a while. I would say about 20 years. I know in my heart I wanted to one day write a book, but it's just that I was just too busy. And luckily, about 2.5 years ago, I was able to do a career change, and I had the opportunity to work from home with a hybrid position, and which kind of gave me a little bit of more time, because my days were not as long and I was more at home. Then my husband one day said, "Hey, when are you going to write your children's book?" And I said, "You know what? I was thinking about writing a book about Chachi, my beloved Chachi." And it kind of started with this little sombrero. I don't know if you see it right here.
Oh, it's so cute.
So before I transferred over to my new position, I had gone to a conference in San Antonio. I don't know if you've been to the Riverwalk in San Antonio, Texas.
I have, love it.
Yes. So there, they had mariachi music
Yes.
playing, and they had some little shops and vendors, and I came across this little sombrero, which I love mariachi music, by the way. And I came home that day and I placed it on Chachi because I call him Chachi Mariachi.
Oh my gosh. His
So,
last name is Mariachi. First name is Chachi. Love it.
so Chachi Mariachi, I started calling him Chachi Mariachi. And I kind of started brainstorming and doing some notes of what I wanted the story to be. So in this story, Chachi has a secret, but I can't let you on the secret yet because this book is to be released next year, God willing. So Chachi Mariachi has a secret. So he is in a mariachi band, but
Yes.
that's a secret that no one knows. But as I was writing these, notes and brainstorming, there was one night pretty much that I was just kind of tossing and turning. My mind was just rambling, and I truly felt calling. God had spoken to me. To His Spirit. I felt Him ask me, "So, you want to write a children's book?" And I'm like, "Well, yes, God, I do." And He's like, "Okay, well, great, but it needs to be about me first." So I said, "Well, God, I already have my notes for Chachi, and I already had you can say no to God, right?" So, with prayer and being obedient, God placed some wonderful people in my path. Uh, my realtor at the time had just mentioned that one of her clients had just published a children's book, and she put me in contact with her. Like I said, this was just all mumbo jumbo, just brainstorming.
Right.
There was really no plan, a full plan of action, because I was
Right.
kind of new to the book business.
Right.
So she put me in contact with her client, her friend, and she gave me such great advice. And she led me to this group of children's authors and illustrators, which I was able to find some great editors and illustrators. So very blessed with that. But I had to change my storyline. So it was going to be Chachi. Chachi's going to have to be put on the back burner for now because all glory and honor to God. So
I love it.
he even kind of spoke to me on the title. Once Upon a Cross was placed in my heart.
Yes.
And that was pretty much my first project. Once Upon a Cross, it's a retelling of Jesus. I did use the Gospel of Luke for this book, as it's pretty much considered the Christmas Gospel because it has 24 chapters. So if you read it on day one on December, by day 24, you'll be on Christmas Eve. So it just talks a little bit about God's miracles, his sacrifice for us. But it's something that God placed in my heart. And I felt with this book that I will be able to plant the seed of faith and prayer to young hearts and all hearts. This book is not only for young children, even adults like to read children's book. My mother-in-law is 91 years old. She does have Alzheimer's, unfortunately, but she loved reading this book. And she may forget a lot of things, but she never forgets who Jesus is. So that's very inspirational. So Once Upon a Cross was my main project. I did have a few setbacks, unfortunately, with some, illustrators, but I feel like God's timing is always the perfect timing.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And I know that's just part of what you can share about your journey and such. But first of all, there's no straight line for any author's journey for any book that they have. Yes. And it's interesting that we're talking about this because I even had a client, and again, I don't know, we've published somewhere around 90 something titles, right, in our history. So, and I said about 200 some clients. And I even had a client just recently that was maybe 3 chapters in that just really gave up. So then there's that. But there's always things that can happen in your publishing journey. And from the author's standpoint, especially a debut author, which you were before you wrote your first book, you don't understand the journey, the process, the industry. And you know what? As a book publisher, I don't even always understand the journey, the process, the industry, because the industry is very non-standard. There are not industry standards. There isn't one exact way to publish a book. There is not just one way to be published, so you experience that firsthand. I can't tell you how many times I will talk to prospective book authors and I will say, not every publisher is for every writer. And vice versa, right? Yes. So, but I bet you've learned a ton about book publishing with what you've done, right? You can probably write a book about it now based on your experience.
Yes, there's a lot of trial and error, but the end result, you just have to keep learning. You have to keep going at it. Mistakes are going to happen, setbacks are going to happen, but you got to focus on that end result.
100%. Well, you brought up illustrators and you brought up that you had to change illustrators. So 2 questions I have for you. One is, did you end up using the same illustrator for every one of your books or not?
I did not.
Okay.
I did not.
And they're not really in the same series, so to speak. So that's perfectly fine, right? Okay. But when we've definitely had that experience as well, not with all of our children's book authors, but definitely issues with illustrators with some of our children's books. And as you know, and as many people know or may not know even, one of the most important elements in a children's book is the illustrations, right?
Definitely.
And the other part of that is when we do work with children's book writers or authors, we definitely have to change the timeline that we manage for them. And we put extra time in the schedule that's really open to try to plan for everything for the illustration work because it's so important. And when you're dealing with artists, they have their own, clock that they work towards, and that might not look like, a editor's time clock. Definitely. 2 different types of people, right?
Yes, definitely. Because some illustrators, so for little Zuli, that illustrator, that's all she did full time. So she was a full-time student. I found her through the Facebook page that I joined. So little Zuli was illustrated by a full-time student. that was doing just illustrations. So she was able to produce the illustrations, a little quicker than, for example, my other illustrator, Christian, who has a full-time job, who has other side commitments. He's a muralist. He does art on canvas. So that project took a little bit longer because of his schedule. So, like you said, every illustrator is that you work with is going to be different, depending on their schedule. If that is something that they're doing full time, was that something that they're just doing on the side?
Yeah, no, and I didn't even think about that factor 100%. But the factor also was that, they're creative types and they need, you can't just say, okay, sit down and, start illustrating necessarily, just be on a production schedule. So I'm glad we're talking about that. One of the other parts, I was looking at some of our children's books because my head's been, I knew we were going to have this conversation. So I've been thinking about children's books. And this was the very first book. I don't know if that shows very good. Our children's book, and it was Miranda, Queen of the Marshmallows, and super fun. And it was written by a 9-year-old at the time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and this is 10 years ago or so. We've had that. We've had an author that wrote about his sports foundation. We've had a grandmother type. And then, we've had father that wrote about his daughter that was premature and wrote music and that. So, I love what you said about, the children's books messages aren't just for the kids. It's also for the person reading them. And it's so true, right? And even as we talk here, I'm sure you have your favorite children's book. I can name off my top favorite children's book, right? It's because it's the fundamentals of life, right? And as believers, nice talking to a believer. I mean, it is all about him and his love and sharing that.
Exactly.
So, tell me how you ended up, it seems like you sort of you put your head down and just went to town on building these books. Would you say that was how you did it?
So pretty much, with the setbacks of the illustrations with Once Upon a Cross, my mind, I guess I kind of got the little writing bug. I had been working on the manuscript and I had it edited. Like I had mentioned, the illustrators were a few setbacks. So my mind was just thinking like, oh, how about a prayer book, a little prayer book? So, children could learn simple prayers, because prayers don't have to be so lengthy. God loves to hear from all his children. And I wanted also to give a dedication to my late father, Pablo. He was a great man of faith. And we used to share a little bluebird. I was giving a little acrylic bluebird as a teenager from a missionary group, the little bluebird of happiness. So it kind of became a little tradition that when my father would travel to Mexico, he would take it with him. Just so I could remind him, I know that you're away from home, so you could just remain in joy. So he did that for about 20 years. He would take the little bluebird with him when he would travel to go visit his family in Mexico. And ultimately, when he did pass away in 2001, we placed that little bluebird in his hands as he went to his, final trip to heaven. So my brain just started braining, and I'm like, oh, I would like a bluebird to be the main character. So Little Zuli became the main character. And actually, Little Zuli is going to be a 3-part series. Okay. It is an inspiration. The first one is a prayer book. Looking forward to launching her second book this fall. It's going to be about Bible affirmations. It's going to be Little Zuli and the Big Faith Train. So my dad did retire from Union Pacific, where he dedicated his hard work to his family. And I figured this will be another honor to him. So Little Zuli will be riding around in a train, reminding us of the Bible's affirmation. So that's how Little Zuli came about. And I was very blessed that when I reached out to my illustrator, I didn't know how this bird was going to look. I had reached out and I said, I want a bluebird as my main character. I don't know how this bluebird's gonna look, so I'm gonna leave all the magic to you. So she said, okay, I'll sketch a few birds and you tell me what you like. And if you don't like those, I'll continue sketching some more. So actually on her first shot, she sketched 4 little birds. And I liked little Zuli, but I liked the eyes on another bird.
Right.
It made her look girly because she has like little eyelashes.
Yeah.
So I asked her, can we
Yes.
take those eyes and put them on this body? And that's how little Zuli was created. She colored her and it was just perfect.
Well,
And
first of all, I did put up your, I'd like everyone to connect with you. So there's the link there on the stream, and then you'll see all this incredible collection. Thank you for taking us through the process of how do you begin with the illustrations. And that's exactly what we do. So we go out for black and white sketches, right? And then our illustrator will present those to the client, to the customer, prospective book author. And then they do exactly what you do, what you did. I like, this beak, I like this body shape, I like this, enhance the eyes more. And we actually build the whole book with black and white sketches. However, now they're more black and white graphics, because really everything now is really just graphics. And with AI, it's changed everything, right? But it's it's a process, and it's you'll know when you see it.
yes.
Right. It's kind of like book covers that we work with clients. It's like, if they don't love the book cover, then we haven't made it right yet. And then they'll see it and say, that's it. I love it.
Yes.
So it's great. And what about, I was going to ask you about the coloring books. Why did you decide that your collection needed coloring books?
I figured I wanted to add like a fun activity to go along with the book. So my first coloring book was Little Zuli, which is also pretty much like a devotional, because it's not only a coloring book, but it has little sayings at the bottom of the coloring book. It reminds us to be brave, to share with others. So you'll see some different illustrations, black and white, for the children to color, of just reminders of how to be good children of God and how to be loving to others and caring. So I figured this was the perfect opportunity to put those two together. And that coloring book actually became a blessing because I was able to actually, I just recently was approved for a trademark. So Little Zuli is actually has been trademarked.
Oh, congratulations. That's, and I tell you that this is going to go by fast. We only have a few minutes. I told you that. But what I love about what you've shared with us is how creative your selection, or we call it book offerings, how creative your book offerings are. The devotional, the prayer, the English, the Spanish, the different characters, part of a series, standalone. And I don't even know the half of it. That's just from what you've told us. So, and I love also, you did what most of our authors do. And what happens to most of our authors, and what that is that after they write their first book, and sometimes even in the midst of them getting, working with their editors and really getting into it, understanding more of, how to write better and such, they catch the writing bug.
Yes.
Okay. So it sounds like I'm talking to someone that for sure has a writing bug, and you've been using it for his glory, which has been amazing as well. But what a wonderful book offerings. And you have 2 sons. What are your sons' ages?
So actually, my older son is 29.
Okay.
And my younger one is 18.
Okay. So is Noah 18?
Yes, Noah is 18. Okay. And Chris is 29. And they love each other. They are such great sons, such an inspiration, so supportive.
I bet.
Like Noah said, "Mom, I'm gonna buy your book."
I love that. I also love that. You were, with the library, with the story time part, and now my my idea is we need to put you in the Barnes and Noble Storytime authors.
Yes.
We have that. And that actually was where our last children's book offering, that's what we did, is he was invited to be the Storytime author for the Barnes and Noble in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I was there, and it's just such a good thing, right? You can read the book to the kids, and kids just love it. And especially such beautiful books that you have and offerings. I want to make sure that everyone can connect with you. So that is here, and that's your author page where you have your selections. So you said you're in the midst of the series. Tell us what book is coming next. Kind of take us through what to expect with you.
Okay, so definitely Little Sully's Big Fate Train should be launching this upcoming fall. I am working on Chachi Mariachi for next year, and also the last book of Little Sully. I know I jumped on Chachi's story because Peanut was my beloved dog who was obsessed with apples. You could not have an apple in sight without him just harassing you. Give me some apples. So in the story, Peanut works in different places throughout the week because he wants to get paid in apples.
Oh my God.
So on Sunday, he gets to enjoy his apples with his family and friends. But so that is a true aspect. It is a dedication for my beloved Peanut. He loved apples. He was totally obsessed with them. And that dog could smell an apple 5 miles away.
So great. It's so fun. Well, we are going to have to chat. Well, one thing, please, again, we appreciate that there's a lot of people that watch this stream and then listen to the podcast that are hopeful book authors. And so we're going to end with, I'm going to ask you a question about that. But just to, as something that we tell all authors, so your Chachi Mariachi, do you own chachimariachi.com? And if you don't, go grab it.
Oh, go grab it. Okay.
Okay. And the other thing that we instruct our authors to do is buy chachimariachibook.com. I'm waiting for the .book. I can't believe there's no .books yet. There's everything but books. I'm always watching that. But at minimum, grab that. And especially with it being a book series, grab your book series URL, of course, establish, hashtag is kind of the jury is out whether we're still using hashtag or not. So I don't know about that, but definitely your URL. So, okay. So we are right at our last question. First of all, before we get there, I want to thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here, getting up early. We could talk for probably all day if we had the time. And congratulations on what you've accomplished. And I look forward to people connecting with you. But what I'd like you to do is encourage someone that is maybe a fellow mom, maybe a fellow believer that God has planted in them, that they should write a book, or they know they should write a book, but they haven't started. What would you say to them?
So I would say start just note-taking, start brainstorming, pray about it if you're a believer, start doing a lot of research. What do you want to tell your audience? What age group do you want to target? Do you want to write something personal, something inspirational? There's just so many genres. You can write about mysteries, comedy. Just start. There's no better time than right now.
Thank you. There's never a perfect time, right?
Never.
Just do it as the shoe company told us to do. Okay. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining our conversations, and thanks again, and have a great Saturday.
Thank you.